Why did you start movement?
The physical education program that I wish I had received in school, millions of people never did. What exactly is going to be different? Can you tell a little?
Lactate is the precursor to your happiness.
What?
I'm gonna go do this certification, and it changed my life.
Let's roll. We completely forgot. It's just you and I.
Yeah. It's me and you having a conversation.
Exactly. It's rolling already.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's pretty wild.
Isn't it great to be here?
It's good to reconnect. You know, back in December when we met, it was like it was something that needed to happen. It was like destiny almost. So it was like a really cool kind of moment when we went. We had dinner at the sushi restaurant, and we had those conversations about MovNat, and now we're here where we are. So
Austin, Texas.
Now, right?
Right now.
Months later, you know, 5 months, 6 months later. How
Hey,
time flies.
Right, and who could tell we're in the heart of the city?
Yeah.
But
Nature.
look at that. That's where we want to be.
Yeah.
That's where the energy is good.
Yeah. And that same kind of like energy seems like what we're propagating forward with MovNat 2.0.
What?
MovNat 2.0.
What is that?
So before we get there, why don't we give a little history lesson to some of the audience? So like, why did you start MovNat?
Start MovNat because it was missing. It was missing. That's the way I train, but nobody else was training that way. Very few people. Very, very few people. And somehow I designed MovNat because it's a method. It's not just a practice. It's not just go in the woods, do whatever you want. Be wild, you know. It's systematic. It's a method. Why? Because most people do not know how to operate their body through these natural movements, but in a way that's efficient and safe. So how do we take them there? Safely with and effectively, efficiently through progressions, so that they don't have to figure out. Because if you tell anybody, most people, just go in the woods and you'll figure it out. They may not even go in the woods, or they go there and they're like, I don't know what to do. Yeah. I don't know how to organize this. And maybe I can try to jump, but I don't even know if I'm doing something right. If you think about it, it's a little like a martial art. There's the martial art, the mixed movement arts, mixed martial arts of real world physical capability. Yeah. Because let's say you wanted to be a good fighter. What do? You're not going in the street and be like, hey, what's up? And you start fighting with somebody, and that's how you're going to learn. That makes no sense. No, you go learn with people who know, people who are trained, people who are experts, and you start learning what? Techniques. And then the conditioning is going to follow along, and you can also add conditioning to make your techniques even more powerful. Well, apply that mentality to MovNat and to running, to jumping and landing, hanging, climbing, lifting and carrying and throwing, catching, etc., etc., etc. Then you have a whole deal of techniques that you need to learn and then you need to train to become good at them. And then what happens next? That you become really competent, capable.
Your movement competency like skyrockets.
Right, exactly. So for that, we needed a method. And my study showed me that such method, to a degree, existed in the past. It's a long line of people. So basically, I'm not the only one. I'm not the first one, and I'm not the last one. One of the guys it's a long line of people, physical educators that have been bringing this approach to physical training in the past, and we'll also do that in the future. And we are MovNat. What we're doing is to prepare the next generations. And I just want to add this. Somehow, MovNat is the physical education program that I wish I had received in school.
Yeah.
And I didn't.
Yeah, neither did I.
And millions of people never did. And imagine what your life, people's life, and society would become if from an early age, you would learn all these.
Yeah. If everybody was more capable, I think it would
Yeah.
transition to like not just you move well, but your life and interactions with others are improved, right? Because you don't have this insecurity about yourself, right? Which is the I feel like the root of a lot of issues and interactions with individuals. Like you run into somebody who's like not secure and then they become like defensive. But that's a whole different conversation.
True.
So I know you built up MovNat to a certain extent, and then you kind of stepped away for a little bit to just kind of let MovNat operate in itself. I stepped into MovNat in 2020, getting certified my L1 and L2 with John Murray. And I remember when I was getting into MovNat, I had worked for a very high-end boutique fitness gym. The pandemic hit, everything kind of shut down. And
very famous boutique gym.
Yeah. We don't have to name names, but I was like, oh man, I want to write something to help people program for themselves. And I was looking at like gross movement patterns. And one of the things was everybody should learn a martial art, whether striking or grappling. And I remember working on it. And in that evening, I'm looking at my phone and it's you on a podcast. And I didn't know who you were, but I was like, it said something about natural movement. And I was like, oh, what's this about? And I click it. And I don't remember exactly the intro, but it was something like, have you ever seen an out-of-shape fish or an out-of-shape eagle? You said something like along those lines. And then I was like, part of my French, but I was like, fuck, he's right. I've never seen an out-of-shape eagle or an out-of-shape fish. No. So then I was like, all right. And I watched the podcast and then I got up. It was late at night. It was like 11:30 at night. I got up. I walked to my computer. I went to MovNat.com. And the pop-up was, if I gave you my email, you gave me all the pages of your book that didn't get published.
Mm-hmm.
So I got that.
The addendum.
And then at night, I'm like reading it. And I came to a conclusion. And that conclusion was what I was trying to achieve and what I was trying to do, you already did. And you did it better than I was capable of doing at that time. And I'm not one to reinvent the wheel. So I was like, oh, I just need to take this course. I walked right back into her room. I looked at my wife and I said, I'm going to go do this certification. And it changed my life. I went, I did it October 2020. And when it was like the thing that clicked for me and the thing that made everything make sense. Now, my background is in academia, right? I have a master's in exercise physiology. I've worked in everything from strength conditioning to a hospital to boutique high-end gyms. And this was the thing that just made sense. And it was the thing that's the most logical. It's the most effective. It's the most efficient method. And now I use it with everybody. I use it with my 7-year-old clients. I use it with my Olympic judokas. I use it with my professional MMA fighters. And it altered not only my philosophy of training for my clients or for myself, but it also put like a whole different layer into my understanding. Because now I understand physiology at a deeper level. I understand neurology at a deeper level because you can connect it to natural movement in such a high end.
What do you mean at deeper level? Because as an exercise scientist, it's not like you did not understand, but maybe what you want to say is like from a conceptual standpoint, you had the science, you had the knowledge, but then it would become more experiential.
Yes, but what do I mean by deeper level? Let's use a concept like lactate. Lactate and exercise phys when you're in school, it depending on what year you came up, it was a waste product.
Mm-hmm.
It was a waste product. But then if you look at Brooks's research, you look at the lactate shuttle, it's every muscle fiber, the skin produces it, the eyes produce it, every organ kind of produces its own lactate source. It utilizes it, it shuttles it, and it's one of the only things that can cross the blood-brain barrier. Now, that's usually where it ends, right? You study exercise phys and you're like, oh, cool, it crosses the blood-brain barrier.
Yeah.
But because I was doing MovNat, I wanted to know what's the next step. I like to ask why like 4 to 6 times. So, okay, why does it go into the brain? Well, it seems to be the preferred fuel source for axon. Okay, why? Right? And then you keep going down the line, and at some point you will arrive to a point. And the cool thing about this, it's not substantiated. It's not a substantiated theory. It's something that you have to come to the conclusion to that everything is leaning in this direction. And in a month, in 6 months, and 8 months, I imagine it'll come out and say, oh shit, lactate is the precursor to your happiness. And movement creates happiness, not just any movement, not the gym, because you're in isolation. You're not using it. You're not using movement as it's intended to solve problems. Lifting a dumbbell and doing a bicep curl is not the same as lapping something, carrying it, putting it from point A to point B, or being outside, trying to get from point A to point B and having it get there in a specific way, solving the problem. It's a lot more impactful, like brain-wise, neurologically wise, physiologically. But that's just one little segment. This is applied to everything I know
Yes.
about physiology, and it's way bigger than.
No, it's true.
than it ever intended.
It is known that brain-derived neurotropic factors are basically they rejuvenate the brain. We need that, and exercise triggers that production. However, not any exercise is equal. So if the exercise is mindless, it's just physical activity. And by the way, when I say just physical activity, I don't mean it in any bad way.
There's no
Physical activity is wonderful. However, when it becomes adaptable, it means your brain really has to engage in the here and now of the movement situation, context, the variables.
No.
You need to operate your body to be effective. You can't be mindless. Then the production of brain-derived neurotropic factor goes up.
Yeah, it's bigger. I look at it like this. I honestly don't care what anybody does to become more capable. But I feel like if you really wanted to do it the best way, you go through natural movement, you do movement, right? That's all I say. I don't care if you're bodybuilding, I don't care if you're Olympic weightlifting, I don't care if you're doing CrossFit, I don't care if you're doing high rocks, as long as you're doing something to better yourself. But eventually everybody comes to the same conclusion. Oh, natural movement just makes the most sense.
Yeah.
Because I went through that in my life too. I did
Yes.
bodybuilding, did functional strength and conditioning. I went and got certified with Olympic weightlifting. I tried CrossFit. I did all these things. And when I did movement, I was like, this makes the most sense. And it's self-regulating, right? A balance skill versus a vault skill versus a jump. But
I have a simple way to boil that down into one-liner, which is that it is none of those disciplines, sports, protocols, program enable natural movement. It's the other way around. Natural movement is what make any sports, any physical activity, any traditional physical discipline possible. So you look at soccer, you're running and you're kicking a ball. Okay. You look at tennis or ping pong. What are you doing? You're moving on your feet, and then it's basically a throwing pattern that's also a catching and a throwing pattern at once through a device that's a racket.
Yeah.
All that is possible because our ancestors evolved with these abilities to move on their feet and throw or catch things.
Yeah.
That's natural movement. We made them specialized sports, but originally it was the full scope of movements that you needed to survive.
Yeah, no, 100%. I look at what's funny is when you look at typical fitness instruction, everybody's like, the most important thing you can develop is strength, or the most important thing is size, and they all have their different opinions, but they forget that that's all a result of doing.
Yeah.
You don't go strength in isolation. I don't just sit here and manifest strength. I have to physically do something to do it. No, it just doesn't work that way. But yeah, I mean, we can continue to talk about that for hours.
And by the way, in this era of AI, we still deal with the reality of the earth and the weather, and it looks like it could rain on us.
Yeah, so we got to get moving.
Let's get to the point.
So when I met you in December, I know you were looking at MovNat and trying to evolve it. And there was, I don't want to call it a level of frustration, but definitely a point of you were like, I can't keep trying to do this by myself. I have too many things on my plate. And when we had our conversation in dinner, I gave you my full, unadulterated opinion of what I felt MovNat was for me and where I felt like it was at that current point. And you mentioned to me hey, I'm looking to continue to evolve it, but I can't continue to do it by myself. And we had some really deep conversations on those days. And then at some point, I remember you reached back out to me in January and you said, I need to hire a director. Would you be interested in applying for it? You asked me for my resume, and I think we were on a call once a week, once every 2 weeks for 3 months.
Yes.
And then March 31st, you offered me this position.
Yes.
So why?
I'm glad you accepted to begin with. Why? Look, you have the passion, you have the integrity, you have the insight, you have the experience. What else could I expect that would be better than that? Okay. You have the physicality, you have the experience, not only in MovNat, you are level 3 certified, but also in many movement sports modalities. So you're really, really knowledgeable and all of that. So what else could I expect from a performance director than this kind of resume is absolutely phenomenal. So yes, of course, you were, to me, you appear very quickly to be the ideal person. I'm glad you accepted that position.
Yeah.
We're going to do great work together.
No, I'm glad that you gave me the opportunity. I honestly didn't have it on my radar until we had those discussions, and you were like, "Dude, why don't we explore it?" And as we continue to have conversations, I've had bosses in my career, but I've never had somebody like you who's given me the freedom, the reign, the insight, the direction, and the vision, and has trusted me to be able to operate independently, but always with remember I told you I always keep you in the loop, and we're already moving in that direction that you asked me to. MovNat 2.0, right? Move in that direction, and we can't share everything with everybody right now because we have too many big things coming down the pipe. Oh,
No, yeah, I know, but like MovNat 2.0, what exactly is going to be different? Can you tell a little about
Okay.
it? Can we reveal a bit?
So we won't only be a certification company. I think that's the safest thing to say. I think the biggest lapse in anything in health and fitness is there's not enough support for the certified professionals. And that comes across whether you get your certified personal trainer, whether you get a CrossFit certification, and even when you got to move that certification.
Right.
There's just not enough. There wasn't enough support to help somebody build themselves as an entrepreneur.
Right.
And we had those conversations. And my insight was, let's create an ecosystem, a hub, that when somebody becomes certified through natural movement, not only do their skill sets improve, and not only their ability to teach others improves, but their ability to do business improves, their ability to look at projecting how their business is going to perform, how to coach individual movements correctly and even better, or refining or optimizing their coaching skill. So I want to build a place of community where anybody who becomes certified in natural movement, MovNat specifically, they're going to take their skills to the next level through our organization institution. And that's one piece.
That's one piece, but it's a major piece already,
because
that means the MovNat Academy is going to be the most diverse and complete online toolbox, if I may say, and it's the whole curriculum. It's not just about how you teach the techniques, it's also being a better entrepreneur, making your career to improve.
Yeah.
And all that to be online. So that's what you are already building very actively.
Yeah, we're working on it
and that we're going to be launching officially, and it's going to be soon available also through a revamped website, so faster website.
Yeah, that's coming up for sure.
Yes.
I think the reason why I look at that is because anybody who does what we do, you're literally trying to help somebody improve themselves in some way, shape or form.
Yes, we are.
And the unfortunate reality is a lot of us would do it for free, but we forget that we live in a society that requires money to operate. I had that same sensation and feeling, but I was fortunate enough to have mentors in place that kind of guided me, because you're not impacting your morality, you're not impacting your ethos, you're not impacting this. You're just gaining the ability to help more people. And that's what people lose sight of when they're like, oh, well, I don't want to sell my session for this much, or I don't want to make this much kind of income. I just want to help people. And it's like, you're helping 7.
Yes.
Do you want to help 50 people, or do you want to help 7? Do you want to help 200 people, or do you want to help 3?
Yes.
And that's what I had to shift my mind and switch. It's completely different.
I agree. MovNat has traditionally attracted a lot of very, very well-intentioned people with a heart, people who want to change the world, people who want to help others. Traditionally, it's been really our audience, which is wonderful, it's beautiful. However, not that many of them were equipped with, let's say, equally practical knowledge, because the knowledge of teaching movement is a very practical knowledge, but the knowledge of presenting yourself, your services, your classes to the world is a very important practical knowledge. And without it, how are we going to find students
To teach.
right?
How are you going to help?
Exactly. So we want to empower our certified trainers to also be more competent entrepreneurs if they don't have that kind of feedback. Of background.
Yeah.
The MovNat University is going to provide that, so it's pretty exciting.
I just want to cultivate an environment where we build ourselves through physical activities. We do things that we don't like, and we become more skillful. I alluded to jiu-jitsu. The first time you get choked or you get put shoulder pressure in your face, you tap.
Right.
As you grow in skill, you become more resilient. Somebody hits you with shoulder pressure and you're like, meh, I'll eat it.
Yes.
Somebody goes to choke you, I'll eat it for a little bit. That has to be applied to every aspect of your life. Things that you're uncomfortable with. You only grow through discomfort. And when you can strip all that stuff off, you grow. So I want to provide all the things that maybe a MovNat certified trainer doesn't feel competent in. I want to give them an opportunity to explore it and be good at it.
Yes.
And also, we have these wonderfully trained and high-level, expert-level people who've gone through the MovNat system, all of our TIs. And they don't have enough opportunity to leverage their skill set of teaching others. We're going to give them now an opportunity to teach. So imagine, not just the certification, imagine taking a course from Diana on an alternative way to do the power up, right? AKA the muscle up,
yes,
right?
that means that every TI will have an opportunity to share some of their knowledge, some of their own, let's say, own signal, own teaching signature, little things that make them unique at teaching MovNat. And not only it's an opportunity for them to reach more people than the people that show up to a particular certification workshop, but it's going to be an opportunity for all the existing MCTs, MovNat certified trainers, and all the also the candidates to have access to Diana, to Scott, to you, to me, to the whole team.
Yeah, to the whole team.
Yeah.
And there's nothing like learning an insight from somebody who may do something a little different than you.
Yes.
That shapes it's the detail. It's
Yes.
the detail that they use that when they share it to you, you go, oh, that makes all the difference in the world.
It does.
You know, so there's a lot more things that are going to be coming down the pipe. I'm really excited for the opportunity, and I'm glad that you know, now I've been working already for over a month behind the scenes, and nobody's known my existence.
It's true.
So it's fun to be like, all right, I can now talk and share who I am.
Yes, you know? I'm. In fact, it's the first time that we are that you're
on camera,
MovNat, showing up to the MovNat community, and I'm so happy about that. It's really a blessing. And let's call it episode 1 of MovNat 2.0. So we're basically not sharing much. If we've shared a lot, but not like people are intrigued now. But it's episode 1. There's gonna be an episode 2. Episode 1. Hey, you know what? MovNat 2.0 is coming. What is it? Shh. We'll share more next time. Wait for episode 2.
No, they can already see. Like we already sent out the communication to the MCTs. Like,
true.
Our MovNat trainer map was down for a while.
Yes.
We've got a new solution for that. That's getting fixed. That's getting repaired. New website's coming real soon. MovNat Pro Academy is coming soon.
Yeah.
New courses on Thinkific are coming soon. There's a lot of things that are coming down the pipe that I think people are going to be like, oh, this is what we needed.
So that already, I think it's a pretty exciting announcement. But when in future episodes we'll reveal
the real big one,
that big stuff.
Yeah.
It's gonna be like, what?
Yeah, because nobody knows. Nobody knows what's coming.
So,
yeah.
All right. We're good.
With that,
I think.
Introducing myself to the world, and I look forward to interacting with you guys, meeting with you guys, and moving this to the next.
Ladies and gentlemen, Brian Betancourt, our new performance director at MovNat. Congratulations.
Thank you. Appreciate it. All right.